welcome to the one and only Team 2.
G'day guys, how are we? Welcome to another episode of Talking Boxing. It is Monday, June 26, 2023, and as always, great to have you along for another night of Talking Boxing. Not a lot, I will say, going on over the weekend as far as Aussie boxing goes, but a little bit in the world scene. So what we're going to do, we'll go over all the latest stuff that we can think of course, anything that you guys want to bring up, and remember, it's your show, so let me know what you're thinking. But what I want to do tonight for mainly the Aussie fight fans is we're going to go through the list of all the fighters that are around about. So either the fighters that are currently world champions, or currently have maybe previously been world champions, are about to fight for world championships, and then all the ones that on the peripheral that may be fighting for world titles or big fights in the near future. So we're going to go through, and there's a few to get through, but I want your feedback to what you guys are thinking as well. And as I said, anything that you guys want to bring up. Johnny Durag, is it? How are you, mate? Thanks for joining. I'm not sure whether you've actually been on the show before, but I appreciate you commenting there. So let me know if you've got anything you would like to talk about. Adam, how are you, mate? I know you're always on the show. I'm not too bad at all, mate. The Blues didn't lose over the weekend. We actually had a bye, which was good, but we had a good win a couple of weeks ago. But all good, ready for another big night of boxing. So as I said, we'll go through some of the stuff. Mainly, look, there's a couple of peripheral fights, or fringe fights I would have thought over the weekend. A little bit going on in the Aussie world, but as I said, I really want to get through where the Aussie fighters are at the moment. Now, we've got some big fights coming up, of course. We've just had some big fights, but always plenty going on in the world of boxing, whether it's in Australia or overseas. So let's cover a little bit of the Aussie stuff at the moment. Hang on, there's Johnny. What do you got there, mate? Berlanga versus Munguia to see who's the highest hype job. Yes, I hear you there, Johnny. Well, who is the biggest hype job? We'll start on that. We may as well get into it. I saw Berlanga on the weekend. Of course, he had the 12-round decision over Jason Quigley. Berlanga now 21-0. Quigley now 20-3. He does, or has said, that he wants Munguia next, because obviously the Canelo fight looks like it's sailed now that Canelo has gone with PBC, which we'll get to in a sec as well. Look, I'm not a massive rat for Berlanga, however you pronounce it. I'm not a big fan of his at all. Well, when I say fan, I don't know the guy, so I'm not going to comment on it. But as a fighter, I just don't see him at being at the absolute elite level. Now, I know Eddie Hearn thinks differently. He wanted, of course, Berlanga to fight Canelo next, or maybe next year. But obviously it's not going to happen. But I'm just not sold on him, and I'm with you. Munguia, I actually think Munguia is the superior fighter, I will say. But again, refuses to fight often, and refuses to fight credible opponents, I think. Or, well, not that they're credible, but the really elite opponents that he could be fighting. So, but if you had to put that one on me there, Johnny, I would say that Munguia, I would think, would be favoured to that fight, although Munguia would be going up to super middleweight, which would be a test for him as well. Berlanga at that weight, a lot stronger, but I still have my money on Munguia, I think, there, mate. Who do you think? Interested to hear your thoughts. Chad Walls, how are you, mate? G'day to you as well. And Chad, if you got anything that you would like to put in there to talk about tonight, then put it down there. So, as I said, this is your show, and let's get into it. All right, so on the weekend, we just mentioned Edgar Berlanga got the 12-round decision over Jason Quigley. Just didn't know. I actually thought he might stop Quigley before the fight, I must admit, but 12-round decision. So, yeah, who's next for him? Who knows? Also on the weekend, I didn't see it. I haven't had a chance to look at the highlights yet, but Kazuto Ioka had the 12-round decision in the rematch over Joshua Franco. Ioka's 30 wins, 2 losses and a draw. Franco now 18-2-3. It was for the WBA super flyweight title. So the scores there, Ioka 116, 112 times 2 and 115, 113. So, yeah, look, I must admit, I did go for Ioka only because it was in Japan, I will say. I thought that Franco might have got the decision in the first fight, but being in Japan again for this one, I just thought that it was going to be a tough one for Franco. James, I thought this one might come up at some stage. Hey, you guys, Alex Winwood, top 10 Aussie pound for pound yet. All right, now, did we talk about this last week, James? All right, well, while we're going, let's bring it up. We're just going all over the place here, but whatever, we're all roads end to the end result anyway. All right, here's my top 10 that I put up last week. No, I still haven't got him in the top 10. He's had 3 fights, James. Ability-wise, yes, I would definitely have him in there. But you can see there, Tim Tszyu, number 1. Jai Patai, number 2. Jason Maloney, number 3. George Kambosos, number 4. Andrew Maloney, number 5. Liam Paro, number 6. Sam Goodman, number 7, who went past a couple of guys there. Michael Zarafa, number 8. Liam Wilson, number 9. Stevie Spark, number 10. So what do you think, James? Obviously, you brought it up the last couple of weeks. I'm assuming you think he should be in there. I don't see it. Look, 3 fights in. Really, really good young fighter is Alex Winwood, but I just find it hard. Probably a little bit the reason why I've taken Justice Huni out of there as well. I just don't think after 3, 4, 5 fights, whatever they've all had, because it was by pure ability, I would have Paulo Akuso in there in 1 second flat. So a little bit early there for me, James. Mr. Pads, I'll just go out of that there. Mr. Pads, what do we got there, mate? If I can bring it up. Lynden, excited for Riga Pora versus Opatai. Lovely fight. Need more fights like that. Yeah, it will be. And look, I must admit, I didn't really know anything about, how do you pronounce it, by the way? Let's call him, he's an Englishman, I think. I didn't really know much about him, I must say, after this was floated last week when Masanak decided that he wouldn't pursue the fight with Opatai. I've seen a little bit of him on YouTube. It will be a good fight. Look, of course, I'm going to back our man, Mr. Pads. I think he's got the goods. I think he's the best cruiserweight in the world by a fair way, is Jai Pattaya. And I've got no doubt at some stage he'll go up to heavyweight and make some waves there. Because, look, I think he's a little bit similar fighter to Usyk, but I think he's got more power than Usyk. You know, same, obviously, southpaw, really good range, good skills, good speed. But as I said, I think he's got a little bit more power than Usyk. So I've got no doubt that if he goes up to heavyweight, he could make some waves. Now, obviously, he needs probably 2 or 3 fights at this weight, or at this level, I should say, before moving up to fight some of the good guys or the big guys at heavyweight. But I just think he's a once-in-a-generation talent is Jai Pattaya, and I think he'll prove it against the POM, I tried to listen to it on YouTube and see how they pronounce it. I still couldn't get it right. But anyway, but you're right, mate. We need more fights like that, and thankfully, now that hopefully the whole COVID thing is behind us, we'll now start to see more and more of these fights. There's a lot of ground to be made up after those 2 years of pretty much nothing happening. So hopefully that is the case there, mate. Larry Liston, how are you, Larry? Really impressed with Sam Goodman against Reese Alim. I think it's Reese Alim, yep. Followed him since he was a good domestic fighter, now being fringe world class. I reckon he has a good chance against Marlon Tapales. Yes. Well, we will get into that in a second, Larry, when we start going through all the fighters in Australia. Sam Goodman's definitely one of the main ones I want to cover tonight. Has been floated that he will fight Marlon Tapales, which will be a brilliant fight. A lot of respect for Tapales. He's been a great champion over the journey, and that will be a very, very tough fight for Sam. So let's get into that in a sec. We'll go through a few more comments, and then we'll start having a look at. Mr. Pad says, Lynden, is Justice Huni in the top 15? Yep, I think so. Look, I think just outside the top 10, I'll call you Pads there. I think you would have, as I said before, there'd be Alex Winwood, there'd be Paulo Akuso, and Justice Huni. I don't care whether they've only had a handful of fights each. They are miles above the others. And look, to be honest with you, there could be an argument made with Stevie Spark, maybe. Let's just quickly bring that up again. No doubt. I don't think you could make a case for any of those guys being in front of Michael Zarafa and Liam Wilson. I think they've earned their spots in there. Stevie Spark, hey, I've got a lot of respect for Stevie Spark. He's put himself out there, gone to the other side of the world a couple of times to take the best fights. But, the Montana Love fight was a technical win, so it's hard to really give him the full credit for that. But then on the other hand, I thought he won the last fight in Mexico. So that's why I put him in there. And I just had a good look at it and thought, I love Justice Hooney. I love Paulo Akuso. I love Alex Winwood. But end of the day, Stevie Spark, I think, has earned the right to be number 10 pound for pound at this stage. But those other guys are coming with a bullet, I can tell you. I would think the prerequisite would be 7 or 8 fights. Let's just put a number on it. I'm saying 7, maybe 8 fights. But anyway. James says 2 title fights in a row. Is that Alex you're talking about there? Hang on, we'll go back. Yeah, is it 2 title fights? I thought that was his only title fight. But either way, he's going for that record, isn't he? So be interesting to see if he can get the record from Jeff Fennick. I would doubt it, to be honest, James. But hey, he's a as I said on this program a couple of times, spent a lot of time with him over in Vegas a couple of months ago, and he's a lovely fella, works hard, trains hard, training around the Maloneys. You're going to be, you got no choice but to lift, or else you're going to find yourself in a bit of trouble sparring those guys. And I did see him spar the young other guy over there in Stockton, and handled him pretty easy. He looks like he's going to fight him in the future. So, mate, give him another look. I'll give him a little bit of an out because he's only a minimum weight or super. Is it light fly or whatever? We'll call it minimum weight. Let's just say that I think that he needs. Let's give him 6 fights. I think before I can put him in that category. Tommy B, how are you, mate? Franco missed weight by a lot. He sure did, mate. Not sure what happened there. I think was he 6 pounds over, or 5 or 6 pounds over. I didn't really read into it a lot, Tommy. All I know is he lost his title on the scales. I'm not sure whether that was a strategy or they've just got his weight cut drastically wrong. Now I think it's the first time it's happened to him, so I'm going to give him a little bit of an out as far as deliberately doing it. But geez, there's got to be something happen there, and I think I'm not quite sure whether he was fined. I'm sure he was. Aoka would have got some extra coin for taking the fight, but I think it was 5 to 6 pounds, which is about 2.5 to 3 kilos. So it's a fair bit of weight. All right, thanks, Mr. Pads. Hang on, I'll get rid of... where are we there? What have I done there? I'll get rid of that. Where are we? Yeah, all right, now. Okay, so I'll go back here. All right, so it's Re-Ak-Por. Is that how you pronounce it? Thanks, mate, because even watching the YouTube, I'm trying to get a bit of an idea how they pronounce it. They all pronounce it differently as well. So Re-Ak-Por, that's what we'll call him. All right, we'll call him Richard. How's that, Mr. Pads? We'll just call him Richard R. All right, Larry. I wouldn't mind seeing Liam Paro against Jose Ramirez or Barbosa for the vacant WBO 140 belt, or perhaps against Teofimo if Teo signs with Matchroom. Australian boxing is looking good so far. It certainly is, mate. How good is it at the moment? And when we go through the list soon, if we get a chance, because we're going to keep talking about what you guys want to talk about for as long as it takes. It would be there, mate. I think now at the moment, I'll just jump ahead here. So I'm not sure whether they've been updated. So at the moment, Barbosa is number 1 for the WBO. Ramirez is number 2. Liam is still not rated. So I'm not sure where... Actually, I'll bring you guys in on this just while I'm doing it. I am going to get to it in more detail later. When are the ratings here? So the WBO was updated on June 15th. And he's still not there. I don't understand. When was the WBC? Let's have a quick look. WBC was June 16, WBA June 1, IBF June. So they're all within a couple of weeks ago. So where is Liam Paro? Have I missed something here, guys? Where are we? Light welterweight or super lightweight. So Liam Paro. So not rated there or there. So what is going on with Liam Paro? How can... that something was not his fault and he's just been completely obliterated from the ratings. He was WBO number 2 before the Taylor-Teo fight. Was taken out of the rankings, of course, when he signed to fight Prograis. Now it's just like Liam Hu. Now I just hope his team petition strongly for this to get him back in there, because I'm not sure what is going on. I mean, even Josh Taylor, you can see there, he lost, but still number 8. Number 3 there with the WBO. So I don't know what's happening there, mate, but it would be good. But that is still strange, isn't it? That he's still not back in the ratings. Anyway, we'll see. What else have we got there before we move on? Mr. Pat says, Tommy B, I think he missed weight by close to 7 pounds. Wow, that's over 3 kilos. That's a lot of weight. Now, that to me says he was not... Well, I won't say it was deliberate. He went out there and But I think he obviously knew he wasn't going to make weight, was going to lose the title, and just thought, well, if I'm 2 pounds over, I may as well be 7 pounds over. So I may as well be nice and strong. But geez, that's a lot of weight to give it to drop on the scale. That's just crazy. All-Star Boxing, Benny Harrington, how are you, mate? Love your work too, mate. And I'm going to talk about one of your fighters a little bit later, mate, when we go through some maybe options coming up for him. Talking about Liam Wilson, of course. So we'd love to have your input, mate. But thanks very much for tuning in. It's great to have you to watching. Robbie Jones, how are you, mate? Not sure you've been on before, but thanks for coming on. Hey, bloke, do you know much about Dana Coolwell? Looks like a good fighter. He is a very, very good young fighter, Robbie. Had a good win overseas in his last outing. Look, I think it's still a little bit too early for Dana. I'm just glad that they've just brought him back just a touch. I think he was elevated a little bit too early with the main event status. He dropped a couple of fights. I think both of them were very, very close, but I think he dropped those fights. I'm glad they've just pulled him back, gave him a good winnable fight overseas, and I thought he looked great in that. But yeah, he's a very, very good young fighter, Robbie, and I've got no doubt in another 3, 4, maybe 5 fights, he's going to be knocking on the door of the world ranking. So yeah, really good young talent is Dana Coolwell. Mr. Pads, do you think that after Tim retires, he's going to be in the same conversation as Fennick, Famishon, Costa, etc., as it pertains to great Aussie boxers? Well, look, I'm going to be honest with you. At the start, Mr. Pads, I thought that he was a fantastic talent. I thought that, and let's not get too excited. He hasn't actually won the world titles yet, so we're getting ahead of ourselves just a tad. But I thought that my initial thoughts of Tim would be that he would be maybe on the doorstep of a world title fight, might fight for one, win one, who knows what might happen. But I must admit, hand on heart, I wasn't quite sure whether he had it to take to the absolute elite level. But geez, in the last 3 or 4 years, he has just gone from here to here. And I 100% think that he could potentially be in the conversations of those guys. The thing is, though, he has to win. I won't say multiple world titles, but if he wins the undisputed super welterweight title, I would already put him in the same conversation as those guys. I really would, but maybe not Jeff or Costa. Johnny Famishon, yes. Lionel Rose, yes. And I know that might offend a few people out there, but I think those guys won world titles and were great champions. But neither one of them made a massive amount of defences of those titles. So I think if Tim wins that title, the undisputed title, that would be enough for me to put him in the conversation. It would take for him to maybe win another world title at another weight. Not multiple like Costa only won world titles at one weight division, didn't he? So, but I would think it would take him 3, 4, maybe 5 wins at that really top elite level, even if he wins the world title, to be in the same conversation. If he wins those belts, he's in the same conversation as a George Kambosos, a Jeff Horn, a Jeff Harding, all those great champions that we've had that were great. Well, they were world champions, but never really, George Kambosos, of course, has got some time to do that. But won world titles in great victories, but didn't really go to those extreme elite levels where Jeff and Costa did. And that's why I think Tim 100% has the ability to do it. So I hope that answers your question there. By the time he retires, 100% think he has the ability to do it, but the rest is up to him. But just a great young talent. And what I really love about Tim the most is that, and I've said it on here a few times on numerous shows as well, that he's his own worst critic. He continually works, continually keeps active, continually tries to improve himself. And that is why there's no coincidence in the last 3 to 4 years he has gone just out of the stratosphere as far as improvement goes. As I must admit again, when I saw him fight Joel Camilleri, Joel is a very, very awkward fighter and a really good guy, good fighter, but not at the elite world level. I don't think anyway. You guys might disagree. But I thought he made Tim look quite ordinary in that fight. Tim really struggled with it, but what did he do? He went back, he worked on it. Next fight out, he beat the late great Dwight Ritchie very impressively, absolutely obliterated Brubaker. Now, I know both of those fighters aren't necessarily at, again, world level, but the way he did it, he just took them apart, and then since then he's just gone from strength to strength to strength, and has proved 100% that he deserves to be at the level. And, he had the slight hiccup against Gaucher when he hit the canvas, but he won every single round after that. And again, as I said, has improved fight after fight to the point where he obliterated Harrison. We saw what he did to Ocampo, and I've got no doubt, mate, that, he could be one of the greats for sure. Waffled on a little bit with that one, haven't I? Tommy B, any news as to when the next No Limit shows are going to be? Does it depend on Jai's fight date? Yeah, I've heard some whispers, Tommy, but I won't say me because I don't want to sort of get it wrong. I've heard a few things. I did see actually the other day that someone on Glenn Jennings' feed on Facebook, I think it was, said, "Hey, what's going on? When's the No Limit show?" He's like, "Well, mate, I'm not No Limit. I've got a couple of fighters on the No Limit stable, but I don't decide when the fights are. So maybe ask No Limit." But I would think it would depend on that, Tommy, when Jai is ready to fight, when they get an opponent, because you've got to remember they had Masternak in the sights, and all of a sudden that was flipped on its head. Now they've got to try and organise something else. Look, I don't think it's a big thing for Jai. He's been out for about 12 months now. I don't think it's a bad thing with the injury that he sustained with his jaw to have the year off, fully let himself heal. And when he comes back, he's going to be bigger and better than ever, I think. But I think that's what they're waiting for, Tommy. There has been word that maybe Nikita might headline one of the shows in the next couple of months, but don't quote me on that. It's just, again, hearsay. Coming from a few sources, but and you would think that Liam Wilson would be part of that as well. Benny Harrington, if you can let us know, I would think that Liam Wilson would be in line to maybe headline one of those shows as well. So he might have to keep mum on this, but if you can spread some sort of enlighten us a little bit there, Benny, that would be appreciated, mate. Batman Boxing, how are you, mate? Morning to you. Yep. What is it, about 7:20 in the evening here, but over the UK. Thanks for joining me, mate. Great for you to get up and join the conversation. And yes, Batman Zoo has improved tremendously. It's amazing how much he has improved and was always a serious talent. Well, that's what I said. He always had the talent, but whether he just had what it takes, because you got to remember, and I'm sure if you talk to any elite fighter that's been up there, going from domestic level to dipping your toe in international level to then getting to full-blown international level, it's a massive step to take. It really is. So, he's worked on his craft to get himself there, and good luck to him for what he's done. Mr. Pad says, Lynden, can you see Nikita becoming a world champion one day? I've seen a lot of people saying that his ceiling is higher than Tim's. Still very, very early for me, Mr. Pads. Again, I've got him on the list to talk about a little bit later. We'll talk a little bit more in detail, but still too early for me, to be honest, mate. Jules H, evening, Lynden. G'day, mate. I love it when we talk Tim. What weight class do you think he'll end up being most successful at? I think middleweight, Jules. I think he's a middleweight in the making. I think he'll be big, strong. I know he makes super welterweight okay, although he did have a little bit of trouble in the cold over in Minneapolis. But I think as a fully fledged middleweight, I think you'll see the best Tim Tszyu. And that might spell a bit of trouble for Michael Zarafi if they fight down the track. But that's where I see him, mate. I don't look. He might go to super middleweight if there's a big fight there, but I think it might be a bit heavy for him. I would love to see him. You see his physique. He's not like a Canelo that sort of just beefs out. He's quite sort of not slim, but he's got that build. But I don't think it would suit him to get too big. And I think middleweight would be his ideal weight. Mr. Pad says, Tim seems like a very nice person, like a people's champ type of character. Yeah, he certainly is, mate. He's always got time for his supporters out there. And must be tough, though. You know, you're getting all these people come up for photos and autographs and selfies and all that sort of stuff. But he handles it really well. And I really believe that his team around him have kept him very, very grounded. They're a very tight-knit, close team, is Team Tszyu. They only very select sort of get in there, and they don't have an entourage and that sort of stuff. They keep it very, very much in-house. And as I said, Glenn Jennings and Igor would keep him very, very weighted to the ground. Don't worry about that. Batman says, you can definitely see how hard he works in camp, constantly improving fighter at this point. Yep, certainly. I think he's over in Dubai at the moment, getting a little bit of sun over there. So good luck to you, Tim. I hope you get a little bit of a rest. I'm sure he's doing some training over there, and he'll be back hopefully with an announcement soon. As I said last week, the word on the street is that it could be October the 14th in Las Vegas. So if you're looking to go, maybe, and I have looked, by the way, airfares are pretty cheap around that time. Unfortunately, accommodation is absolutely through the roof. So hopefully it changes. But if you're looking at maybe going over there, any of you guys out there watching, Airfares are down to about $2,200, which is really cheap, and that's to Las Vegas, not just LA or San Francisco. That's actually to Vegas. I think you're looking at $1,900 to $2,000 to LA or San Francisco, and then a couple $100 to get to Vegas. So really good. But as I said, unfortunately, checking the hotel rates at the moment, you're looking at $400 to $500 a night just at an average hotel on the Strip. So hopefully it comes down, and unfortunately it's for the whole month of October. So not real good. But however, I think they sort of balance themselves out, because a couple of months ago, an airfare to Las Vegas would cost you about $3,500. So if you look at that, it's not too bad. But just to give you an idea of what you should be looking out for if you're planning to get over there for the Tim Tszyu Jamel Charlo fight. Jules says, is there any hearsay as to when the next, that's answer the question, the next few No Limits shows will be? No, unfortunately, mate, and nothing on Matchroom Boxing either. It's gone very, very quiet. When was their show? October last year. They were going to do, 4 or 5 a year? Nothing yet. I think Eddie Hearn said, too hard, I'll go and do something else. So they were having now lost Canelo. Maybe he might look at some other stuff, but yeah, we'll see. Jay Brown, hi Jay, thanks for coming on the show. Liam Wilson actually said, or let it slip on the Zua Campo broadcast, he's back in August. Well, there you go. I would assume that would definitely be a No Limit show, and I would definitely think if he's on that show, he would headline it. Again, Benny Harrington, if you're out there, let us know what's going on there, mate. We would love to see. All right, before we get some more comments there, guys, we'll get a little bit more news from the weekend. One thing I see George Cambosos is obviously over in LA at the moment, training at the Brickhouse Gym in Los Angeles before he heads to Shawnee. So looking forward to seeing over the next, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is, that what he's up to. And he looks in good nick. And I feel a little bit sorry for Maxie Hughes over there. I think George is looking to make a statement. The other thing I did see this week, I'm keen on your opinion. This weekend on the Paul Nazari show up in the Revesby, whatever it is, Workers Club in New South Wales, the first female 3-minute round fight. So Mai Solomon up against Nicola, I think it's Nasilia Costello. They're going to fight 6 3-minute rounds. So it's a bit of a first, got a little bit of attention around the world. What do you think? I think it's good for them. If they want to fight it, let's go. 3-minute round. Excuse me. So Solomon 2-1, Costello 4-3. The first female. I think it's for a title. Where is it actually? I think I've got it up here somewhere. Let me have a look. It is it's 6 threes. There it is. 6 3-minute rounds. So not for a title, but yeah, a 3-minute round fight. So there you go. All right, I've got a couple of comments there. Big J's in the house. Away, mate. Sorry I'm late. Yep, Tim has got himself one of those vinyl pops. You know, you get hit. You hit the big time when you got one of them. I've got to get me one of those. Eddie's show, rumored in August. Okay, that's a Matchroom show. All right, beautiful. Well, be interesting to see if the No Limit shows in August as well, whether they can sort of work in together. So I'm sure they will. Well, they won't work in together, but maybe they might work as far as dates go. Fill me on the vinyl pop, Big J. I've got no idea what you're talking about, but if it's cool, I haven't got it because I'm not very cool at all. Jules, all right, guys, let's get the bunk beds going and we can cram into a couple of rooms at the Lux. I think you're going to have to, mate. I tell you what, though, here's a little tip if you are looking to go, look at Airbnbs. Now, you can get Airbnbs at some of the, not the big casinos, but you can get them in a lot of the apartments around there. So if it's at, I'm assuming it'll be at maybe the MGM or Mandalay Bay or something like that. Somewhere like the MGM Signature. Now, there's 3 big buildings at the back of the MGM Grand. It's linked to the MGM Grand. It's only a walk through there. You get the same amenities, so you get access to the pool and the gym and all the other stuff that the MGM does, but they're actually privately owned. Well, a lot of them are privately owned apartment buildings, and you will get a really, really good discount, and you can get a couple of bedroom apartments with fold-out beds. So you might get say it's for a week, you might get a room for a couple of grand, and you can actually get 3 people in there. That's what I would suggest if you are looking to go. The other one is the Palms. They do it as well. And there's a couple of others along the Strip. But look at Airbnbs. That is a way to go if you're looking to save some dollars and get more people into it. Don't go to an MGM or the hotels or casinos in that area. You've got the MGM, New York across the road. There's Excalibur, which is normally cheap, but even that's $400 a night. But that would be my suggestion. Or get a room that's obviously got 2 queen beds. But look into the Airbnb. It's definitely the way to go because you get a lot of people that privately own them and rent them out. And that way you don't get resort fees either. And if you've been to Vegas, you know what I'm talking about. You roll up, you paid your money. Oh, isn't this great? And you get there and they slug you $60 a night for resort fees. Resort fees that you don't even use most of the time. So do a little bit of research. We might have to do a bit of a segment on this if you are looking to go in the lead up to it. A few tips and that I can offer you. But yeah, Airbnbs are the go. All right, so what else we got there? So on the weekend too, Carlos Adames, 23-1, stopped Julian Williams, 28-4-1. Is it in ninth rounds for the interim WBC middleweight title? I didn't think it was a great fight at all. I thought that both sort of laboured through. It was a tough fight. Some big punches sort of thrown. I wasn't impressed with Adames at all. Williams, for me, is shot. Obviously a former champion, but I think his best days are past him. I do agree with his trainer, though, who had plenty to say afterwards. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Didn't hold back as far as his opinion of the fight being stopped. I might be, again, a little bit more controversial saying this. I thought it was a good stoppage. I thought he was taking plenty of shots in the lead up to the stoppage. I think he wasn't firing back. Okay, he wasn't taking big punches, but he was fatigued. Obviously, a little bit, he was banged up. And more importantly, he wasn't returning punches. Adames was just nothing special either, as I said, but I just think that Williams was just starting to show the effects of being on the verge of being dropped, and I didn't think it was a bad stoppage at all. What do you think, though, about what his trainer said? If you didn't see it, he said it's all about the A side. Let's protect the A side, and it was only stopped because Adames was the A side. I don't agree with that. As I said, I agree with the stoppage, but there was no knockdown. He was in trouble, I think, in the fourth, big time. He survived. But as I said, I just think he'd taken enough punishment over the journey, so I was happy with stoppage. Not a bad day's boxing, actually. They had only the three fights, which was good. Fernando Martinez on the undercard defended his IBF Super Flyweight title with an 11th round stoppage of Jade Borneo. I thought that was a good fight. Erickson Lubin made short work of Luis Arias as well. So Lubin 25-2. Arias 20 wins, 4 losses, and a draw. So yeah, it wasn't a bad day of boxing, I didn't think. What do you guys think if you watched it? A couple of other things going on. Talk Deontay Wilder might fight Ruiz. Not a bad fight. I think Wilder wins that fight. Canelo is looking at he's signed a 3-fight deal with PBC. Looks like he's going to fight Charlo. What do we think about that? Charlo hasn't fought for 2 years. So it looks like, unofficially of course, but the talk is it's going to be Charlo first, and then Benavides, and then maybe Morrell. So if that or Spence, if that is the case, I'll be wrapped with that. But yeah, I'm not quite sure the Charlo thing at this stage makes sense. I would have thought maybe Benavides first, let Charlo get a win or two under his belt in the meantime, then fight Canelo next, or even let Spence fight him and then fight Charlo down the track. I'm just not quite sure that Canelo's going to endear himself too well to the fans out there. After he's avoided, I will say that in quote marks, that he's avoided Benavides. I don't think that's the case. I think it's all about timing. I think it's a good fight. I think on paper, but Charlo being out for a couple of years, had his issues outside the ring. I don't think he's going to endear himself to the fans out there with this pick. As I said, I would have maybe had Benavides next, then either Charlo or Spence in the 2 and 3, or maybe they could swap, whatever it might be. But either way, that seems to be the case. I agree with him signing with PBC. I think Eddie Hearn was quoted as saying that even he agreed or had no problem with him. He had no fighters for him apart from Belunga, and he's still a long way, in my opinion, of being in line to fight Canelo. So I think it's a good business decision from Canelo Alvarez. And I'll say it again. You got to remember, fighters like Canelo Alvarez, anyone at that level, they don't avoid fighters because they're scared of them or whatever. They avoid them because it's not the right business decision at the time. You got to remember, this is a business, and as fans, we want the best fights, one after the other. But these guys, it's all about timing. Floyd Mayweather was the master at it. He just fought everyone at the right time. Some call it whether it be not ducking, but you know what I mean. But I think it's smart. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, would fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, and got 8 or 9 losses because of it. However, I did see a poll recently that people actually say his career was better than Floyd. That's debatable. Anyway, let's getting off subject. But I think in this case, Canelo, really good decision, signing with PBC for 3 fights. Then after that, maybe there's a Belunga or someone that's there that he could fight after that. Who knows? But, yep, good decision. Big J, the UFC girls do the same as the men, so why not? This is in regards to the 3-minute rounds. Funko Vinyl Pop are collectible figures, extremely popular. Oh, okay, yes, I have seen them. My son's actually got a few of those. He's got it. Is that right? He's got his own vinyl pop. Well, I'll have to get one now. How good's that? Both Charlos getting their asses handed to them. Yeah, I think so, mate. But isn't it interesting that if it's mid-September for the Canelo-Charlo fight, Jamal Charlo, the bigger Charlo, in mid-September, then it might be 4 weeks later you'll have the Tim, I won't call him Costa, the Tim Tszyu fight with Jamal Charlo. So, yeah, it'd be a big month for the Charlo family, but I'm with you. I think both of them are going to come up short and not have any belts left at the end of it. Canelo. What's that, Jules? You support me on that? You agree? Hope so. All right, let's get into what I want to do here, guys. As we're going, we'll keep the questions coming. I want to go through, as I said at the start, where the Aussies are at the moment, where they rank in the scheme of things, and what's going on for each one, and get your opinion. We're going to start with the actual current world champions and what might be next for the boys and girls. We have, of course, got one female world champion at the moment in Ebony Bridges. As I said, guys, keep the questions coming there, and I'll answer them as we go. Jaya Pataya, we've briefly discussed what he's up to. Of course, the IBF cruiserweight title. Let's go to the webcam here. Let's have a look. We'll go up to, where is he? Cruiserweight. So we'll go back up to heavyweight in a minute. So cruiserweight there, you can see he's the world champion. Masternak is out. He looks like, and he will fight Richard R. We're going to call him. So that would be his next one. There might be the rematch with Bridges after that, but can't really see it. Who knows? It could be Floyd Masson. Might be next, but you would think after, obviously, the Richard Ria, whatever his name is, I'll leave it at that. That would be his next opponent. And then, as I said before, maybe he has a couple of fights and then moves up. The other one at the moment, let's go to Jason Maloney. He is the bantamweight champion. He definitely wants that fight. Actually, where are we going there, Jules? Canelo's last few performances have been a bit underwhelming. Fighting Jamal after 2 years out might be a good idea. Yeah, look, it might be a dangerous fight for him as well, Jules. But, yeah, I don't mind the fight. As I said, I think it's a good fight for Canelo, but I can just understand why it's not going to endear him to fans. But, yeah, good time to get Charlo, because I think Charlo, at his best, would be a pretty tough fight for Canelo. All right, so let's get down to... So there is WBO champion Jason Maloney. So I know he wants Donaire. He's going to fight for the WBC belt. WBA is Takuma Inoue. Obviously... Naoya's brother, and the IBF is vacant, so Rodriguez and looks like Lopez will fight for that one. I would think that Jason might fight a Gaballo next for a mandatory, or maybe even a voluntary might be right down to some of those guys you see there for a world title homecoming later in the year. So we'll see. Adam, roughly how much would a ticket cost to the Charlo Zoo, the cheapest option? All right, I reckon, mate, you would get a good ticket, a really good ticket, for about $300 to $400. That's US though, so you might be looking at about 500. Just depends. I got at the Haney Lomachenko fight. We actually had really good tickets, and they were about 300 US. Over there, you got to remember too. They actually do tack on like a nice substantial fee from whether it be Ticketmaster or Ticketek or whatever it is. Over here, they only take maybe $5 to $10. Over there, they might take $80 to $100. So you just keep that. It'll tell you obviously at the end of it. But I would think for that fight there, Adam, I'm thinking maybe $300 to $350 US for a good ticket, a really good ticket. You might get tickets up the back for maybe $150 to $200. But that's probably where they would start. I would say about $150, probably up until about the $600 or $700 mark for the stands, and then of course you go up from there. It's just to give you a bit of an idea. BJ says, would love to do a top 10 championship fights featuring Australians. My top 3: Manny versus Jeff, Rose versus Harada, Gill versus Sturm. Okay, so you're talking about the best performance from an Aussie or the best fight in general? I would think that would almost be the best performance by an Aussie. Jules, but definitely look at that, mate, for sure. We'll look at that for next. Just clarify that, mate, and we might do that next week. All right, Jules says Zoo versus Charlie tickets at Mandela Bay were actually cheaper than Zoo versus Harrison and Zoo versus Ocampo. Yeah, no, you're probably right there, Jules. You've got to remember over there, they don't. Well, I want to say they don't. Not to say there's any price gouging going on, but let's face it, people over here will pay the money, and they sort of do that too for the bigger fights over there. But you got to remember over, like, let's just say if Zoo Charlo was in Australia, you'd probably be paying a fortune for tickets. You might pay between, $300 or $400 for an average sort of seat, right up to what you see, thousands of dollars. But over there, Zoo Charlo isn't a massive fight. Yes, it's a big fight, but it's not a massive fight. The fight here would be massive, of course. So that's sort of why it sort of levels itself out. But I got tickets initially for the first Zoo Charlo fight back in, January. And they were $600 US, but I was actually on the floor about midway, so that gives you a bit of an idea. So I'm not quite sure now that Tim's maybe a little bit further down the track. It might be a little bit more expensive, but I don't think so. I'm thinking you'll get a half decent seat, as I said, from about $300. That's a good seat, sort of halfway down there. Or nothing wrong with those types of arenas. There's never a bad seat. You can sit up the back and have no dramas for $150 to $200. So it's not as expensive as you might think it might be for those fights over there. And here's another one for you. I got, what was it, for Jason Maloney's fights, his fight in Stockton. The ringside tickets there were $150 US. Now, I didn't pay for them because Mike Altamura helped me out, but a couple of the guys, Aussies, I was talking $150 ringside. I'm talking within 5 rows of the ring, $150 US. So there you go. Big J says, "Where the Aussie wins the title." Yes, I would love to do that, mate. Let's put it on the agenda. And if you guys have got some ideas, have a bit of a think about it. I'll give my, what was it, top 5? Was it or top 10? Top 10. All right, let's do it. We'll do that next week. The top 10 performances of an Aussie of all time. Have I done that before? Maybe I haven't. Anyway, we'll do that, mate. All right, so we've done Jason Maloney. As I said, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Gabala will be probably within the next 12 months. He'll probably get one of those other fights in the meantime. The other one is an interim champion, of course. We all know what's next for Tim Tszyu. It'll be Jamal Charlo. So, and then after that, we'll go back here. So that's a pretty easy one for our current world champion. So you can see there, he's the interim champion. If the fight doesn't come off next, I would think he would get another one sort of down. You can see there, sort of 13 to 15, one of those guys, I would think, just to keep himself busy. He's already, Inouye's already beaten him. He's already beaten Ocampo. He's already beaten Gorche. So that would be it for Timo. But it's all about Jamal Charlo at the moment. All right, in the female stakes, let's have a quick look at that one. Where are we? What is she? Hang on. I'm in the... Just quickly there. All right, so she's obviously the WBF champion. So you can see there, Ebony Bridges. WBA is Nina Hughes. WBC is Luna. WBO is Thorslin. Whether she fights one of those, I don't really know there, guys. I'm not really sure the female side of things. She did fight, obviously, Shannon O'Connell. That was a mandatory, so it could be any one of those girls. So there you go. I'm not quite sure with the girls how it works. So that's our current world champions. Let's get into the ones that are probably on the cusp of fighting for the world title. And of course, we've got to go no further than George Kambosos. Of course, his next fight is the IBO world title. I'm not sort of counting that as the world title, but it will put him in line to fight Gustavo Lemos for the vacant title if Devin Haney moves up. So that's probably nice and easy for George. Gets past Maxie Hughes, becomes IBF mandatory, and then he's in line, probably number 2, I would say there, and then he fights Gustavo Lemos after that, or whoever. Maybe if he does vacate, I'm not sure where he's ranked. Where is he in the scheme of the other things there? So you can see, where is he actually? So George Kambo's number 8 with the IBF at the moment. You can see he's obviously going for that IBF route. So he's not ranked. There is number 6 with the WBC. Where he's not ranked at all for the WBA. That's unusual, isn't it? Hang on, where is he? WBA, and not ranked, is he, by the 14 with the WBA. So obviously you can see there he's taken the route with the IBF, and that's purely the direction he'll be heading. So his is a nice, easy one. The other one is Liam Wilson. We discussed him a little bit earlier. So there he goes. He's not in the ratings at all. So I've got to put an asterisk beside him. So what is next for him? He's obviously got to get away, get his injuries fixed. He's got the double Achilles tear or rupture, whatever it was. So really, we've got to put an asterisk next to him because at the moment he's going nowhere. He's not ranked by anyone. So I'm not quite sure what's next for Liam Wilson. Big J says Ebb's doing a voluntary defence next and a unification with Hughes, but bugger Ebony. All right, so we don't know who the voluntary is going to be against, but obviously it's got to be someone in the top 15, and Hughes. So where is she? There. So Hughes, is it? So she's WBA and she's from England, which obviously makes sense. That will be one that Eddie Hearn will want to get to fruition. So that's Liam Paro. Let's put an asterisk beside him because no one knows at this stage. He's got to get over his his injuries, and then get it back in the ratings. He's nowhere at the moment. So that's really, really weird. On to a fighter that's just fought for a world title is Andrew Maloney. Let's go down to super flyweight. Now, there is talk that he may be going down to flyweight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually go down to 112 pounds. You can see there, where is he? Still ranked. Is he still ranked? So he's ranked number 7 with the WBO, not ranked with the, who is it there? The IBF, not ranked with the WBA, which I don't understand, and not ranked by the WBC, which is really odd, I would think. But anyway, so he's still ranked number there, but he is going down, from what I've heard, to 112 pounds. So who does he go for? And by the way, I think it's a really good move. If you can make the weight comfortably, I think it's a great move. Why stay at a weight if you can get down below comfortably? I'm not saying kill yourself to get down. I would strongly be against that. But if you can make the weight comfortably or semi-comfortably, why not go down? Some good fights here for him. I like the fight. I think a Sonny Edwards fight would be really, really, really entertaining. Jesse Rodriguez would be a really good fight for him as well. Martinez and Delakiam. I haven't really seen much of Artem Delakiam, I must say, from the WBA. But I think any of those guys, you've got to remember, at that weight, Andrew would be a big, strong super flyweight at 112. So maybe that's next. I think first and foremost for him, though, is to get a probably 2 fights under his belt to get him back in the swing of things. That was a bad knockout. I would be surprised if he fights again before the end of the year. My advice to him would not to fight to the end of the year. Take the year off, get yourself right, and then come back early next year. As I said, with a couple of quick tune-up fights, and then maybe mid next year, get into one of those opponents. And Sonny Edwards, I think, would be a really, really entertaining fight for him, as would Rodriguez. Really good fight for him as well. Jules says, do you think there was anything in Liam Wilson being pulled from the Zoo undercard and Glenn Jennings coming on board? Was that management? Still only 13 fights into his pro career. Well, if Benny Harrington's still in the chat, it'd be good for him to actually comment. I don't think so. I think I'm not sure, Jules, by the way, what happened. Benny, if he's watching, will obviously be able to comment. I'm not quite sure what happened, so I won't comment on that. All I know is that he's made a great decision. If there has been some sort of split with his original manager to go with Glenn Jennings, because as far as Australia goes, he's the best. I'd throw Mike Altamura in there as well. But a great decision by Liam. And it just makes sense to tie him with the whole no limit thing as well. Obviously, Glenn's very close with the no limit boys. And I'm not going to read anything into that, Jules, that he was pulled deliberately and it coincided with that. I think it was just coincidence, I would think. But he's got plenty of time. He's still only young. I would probably get him a couple of fights. World-level opponents, but no one that's really a killer, that he can really get his confidence back and get his rating up, and then who knows what can happen after that. We'll get to Liam in a second. But that's Andrew Maloney there. As I said, take the rest of the year off and then get a couple of tune-up fights under his belt early in the new year and then look to one of those guys. And I would love to see him fight Sonny Edwards, but we'll see. All right. I got a couple of more comments there. Jack, how are you, Jackie? If he makes that, he eats Sonny Edwards. Yes, I think it'll be a tough fight for him, but I think I back him. I think he's way too strong for Sonny Edwards and all the rest of those guys at that weight. And let's not forget, this guy the WBO champion, Junto Nakatani, I think is the number one in the division. I know it's arguable to say Estrada is number one. For me, Junto Nakatani is number one and will rule that division for a few years to come, I would think. Now, what's going on now? It's Jesse Rodriguez. So he's WBC Super Flyweight interim champion, and he's also the WBO champion. Now, how does that sort of work? Anyway, so that's Andrew Maloney. Let's get into some of the contenders that are on the fringe of world title glory. Let's start at the heavyweights, shall we? And I'm talking Dempsey McKeon. Now, Dempsey at the moment, let's have a look at his rankings there. We'll go through them individually. WBC, he's not ranked there. Where did I see him before? So he's number 12 with the WBO. I would think... I'm not quite sure with Dempsey. Now, there is talk that maybe he could be in line to fight Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. I doubt that fight happens. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see it. So if anyone from the DiCarlo camp are watching or Ace Boxing, let us know. But I would think he's going to continue to chop away. You can see there, number 12 in the WBO. Maybe go for one of these guys. I think he's capable of beating any of those guys, probably up to number 6. I think maybe those guys at the moment might be a little bit too much for him. But I think any of these guys down here he's capable of beating. And all you got to do at the end of the day is be in the mix. You've just got to be in the mix as far as being the top 15, and anything can happen. And if Tyson Fury is looking for a fight in Australia, then there's no one better than Dempsey McKeon. But as I said, I just think he continues to chop away there. I think if he... Look, I'll be honest with you, I don't think he beats a Fury or a Joshua or any of these really tough guys or these top guys up here, but you got to be in it to win it, and anything's possible, as numerous Aussies have shown over the years. So hopefully he just keeps plodding away, gets his opportunity, and we see him in a big fight down the track. The other heavyweight, of course, is Justice Huni at heavyweight, not ranked. No, he's actually, there he is at number 14 by the WBO. I think that's the only one, which is a little bit unusual considering he's only had 5 or 6 fights. But we all know they work in mysterious ways, these sanctioning bodies. I don't want to see Justice fight any of these guys within the next sort of 12 months. Give him another 4 or 5 fights. I think he's ready for any of these guys in the world. That might surprise a few people, but I think he's a great talent. And I really think after about a dozen fights, he gives any of these guys a tough fight. I think maybe 12 fights. I think he beats any of these guys. Maybe Joshua would be pretty tough. I think he's definitely a chance against Ruiz, Sanchez. Wilder might be a bit tough. Maybe Parker. But, I think he's definitely got a high ceiling. Big J says, as far as McKean, the worst thing he did was go with Eddie Hearn. Done nothing since signing with Eddie. Yeah, well, we'll see there, Big J. You're right. He hasn't done a hell of a lot. He did obviously fight on that card back in October. But, not a lot since. Been a lot of talk. But, I just think Eddie, sometimes when you sign with these guys, you sort of do get lost in the mix. Would he have been better signing with a No Limit, where he would have been headlining shows? Obviously, I'll take that back. That was never going to happen because he's with Ace Boxing, of course. Someone like that, or maybe a Top Rank, look, I don't know. But I do know that when you get to that level and you sign with a big promoter, it's very easy to slip through the cracks, and let's hope that there's that Eddie's got some plans for him in the future. Of course, he'd love for him to fight Joshua. And does a Tyson Fury fight happen if that's the case? If Fury's with Top Rank and Frank Warren, and McKean is with Ace Boxing / Matchroom Boxing, whether that fight actually gets made, don't know. But anyway, we'll see what happens there. But as I said, Justice Huni, I would like to see him have 12 to 13 fights, and then I reckon he can match it with any of those guys in the world. And I've got no doubt. And he's with Matchroom as well now, isn't he? So is that right, Matchroom? I think it is. All right, the other one, let's go down to Cruiserweight. Another Ace Boxing fighter is Floyd Masson. Now, he's the IBO. So just clear the camera there. Let's go. Is it right there? It'll be right. It'll come good. I'll lean back there. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Let's put that there. Hopefully. All right, there we go. All right. Floyd Masson at Cruiserweight, IBO champion. I'm not going to really count that at the moment. But let's see where he's ranked there. Hang on. Are we in the Cruiserweights there? All right. Let's have a look. Floyd Masson. Now, I know they do rate. There he is. He's number 7 in the IBF to Jaya Pataya's title. Geez, what a fight that would be if that came off. That's the fight I would love to see. So really at this stage, Floyd looks like he's going to have to continue to just build himself up. But geez, he's ranked number 7 already with the IBF. How good a fight would that be in probably 12 months' time? Jaya Pataya makes maybe a couple of defences. Masson wins another couple of fights. Then we have an all Aussie. I know technically Floyd Masson's sort of a Kiwi, but we'll claim him as an Aussie, same as Jai. Technically Samoan, but we'll claim him as an Aussie as well. But that would be the fight I would love to see. But at the moment, I think that he just continues to fight those sort of fringe guys and build his way up the ladder. And then who knows, as I said, in 12 months' time. So that's Floyd Masson. Also, in the cruiserweight division, you've got Jason Waitley. I don't think he's rated anymore by any of the organisations. He's going to have to build himself up. But that, I said all along, I didn't think that he stood a chance in hell against Jaya Pataya. I thought that would be a lamb to slaughter with Jason Waitley. Full respect to Jason Waitley, I'm just saying, I just don't think he's in the class of Jaya Pataya. I think that's easy work for Jai. Yeah, maybe he could build himself up. And then maybe he fights Floyd Masson and the winner fights Jai. Who knows? But Jason Waitley's got to get back on the horse and get himself rated. So until that happens, it's really hard to rate him. Big J says, Hoodie, an injury-prone fighter. Don't think he'll amount to anything, unfortunately. Is that right? By injuries or by ability? I would think you're alluding to the injuries. Yeah, look, I'll admit, Big J, it's not real good when you have a fight and then you're sort of out injured all the time. So you sort of have a fight and you're out for 6 months and you're back and you're out for 12 months. So I'm with you. That could be the only thing that derails Justice Hoodie. Let's hope we're wrong and he gets a good portfolio going of opponents, a good block of work, I will say, of some wins and get himself ranked. But that is an issue, definitely 100%. Big J. All right, who else we got? Now I've got someone in there that I'm not quite sure if you guys will agree. I'm going to jump down to super middleweight. Now I've got Rowan Murdoch with an asterisk. Now, he is actually rated. You can see there he's ranked number 15 by the IBF. I don't think he's ranked by anyone else by the looks of things. Look, I think, again, if he gets another block of work under his belt as far as some continuity, some regularity, I suppose, if I can spit it out, of opponents. Fight more regular. I know he's had his issues in the past. I know, speaking to Mike Altamura, they want to keep him busy. So let's hope he gets a good run of fights under his belt. He is ranked number 15, so he could get that call up any time. Now, there has been a little bit teased on social media about Rowan Murdoch. Big news coming. Could it be a fight for one of these belts? Although Canelo Alvarez has obviously got all of them at the moment. Could it be an interim fight with Benavides or Morrell or even a John Ryder? Who knows? But they have said that there's a big fight in the works for him. So, as I said, I've got a bit of a asterisk beside him, but let's hope that he comes good. And we see a bit more Rowan Murdoch. All right, let's go down to middleweight. Well, not much to see here except for Michael Zarafa. Now, you can see there he's ranked number 1 by the WBA. He's ranked, I'll just go through there now. Did he actually fall out of the range? Wasn't he 1 with the WBC? All right, no, he's not ranked with the WBC. He's ranked number 1 with the WBA, maybe because he's going to fight for the title. They've taken him out. Not ranked with the WBO, is he? I know he is. Number 6 with the WBO, not ranked by the IBF. Okay, so it looks like he's going to fight for the WBA title against Erislandy Lara. Before I get into that, Jules says, tap you right in the mix there at super middle. Look, all right, just for argument's sake, I'm going to put him in the conversation there, mate. But if you talk to Mike Altamura, he's pretty much a Mexican fighter, born in Mexico, is now based back in Mexico, fighting out of Mexico. We have got sort of a little bit of a hold on him, but yeah, I haven't put him in there because of that reason there, Jules. And I'm not going to get into the whole argument about who's from where, but at the end of the day, he's born in Mexico. He's now based in Mexico, so he's a Mexican fighter as far as I'm concerned. All right, so Michael Zarafa, if he does fight Erislandy Lara, now Lara is fighting Danny Garcia. You can see there, Danny Garcia is ranked number 7, so he will be defending against him. Or is he defending? Yeah, he is defending against him. Can Michael Zarafa beat Erislandy Lara? Now, the Lara of the last, probably before the last 12 months, I would think would use Michael Zarafa as target practice. And I'm just being honest here. I think he would take Michael Zarafa apart. Now, the Zarafa of the last, probably 12, the Erislandy Lara of the last sort of 12 to 18 months. Not that he's been very active at all. Actually, I might bring him up. I'm not quite sure when did he last fight? I'll bring that up there. Let's have a look. All right. Let's have a quick look and see. All right. So he hasn't fought for over a year. And you can see there, that was for the WBA, Gary O'Sullivan. Yep. Okay. So he stopped him in the 8th round. All right. So, and actually, interestingly, you can see not on BoxRec either yet, the fight with Danny Garcia. So now, as I said, I'll just get to the rankings there. It's a pick and fight for me now. For Michael Zarafa and Erislandy Lara, I would probably still favour Erislandy Lara. I think he's got enough to beat Michael. But again, you've got to be in it to win it. I would have thought maybe the WBO might have been the way to go. What was the other one? Was he ranked number 1 with the IBF as well? Oh, he was. Okay, so he would have fought Falcao. I reckon that's a better fight for him than Lara. I know Lara's nearly 40 years old, but he's probably a little bit like a Floyd, where he's 40 years old, but hasn't really been in a lot of wars. He's pretty slick, doesn't get hit a lot, looks after himself, doesn't fight too often either. So I think he's going to be okay for the age. So I would still tip Lara to beat Michael, but as I said, I would have thought that Michael would have went for KO instead of Lara, because I think it's the easier fight. Just my opinion. Belunga. Now, is that for Rowan Murdoch? It could be. He's only just fought on the weekend, so maybe not, Batman. I would think they wouldn't have another opponent for Belunga in the mix. I wouldn't have thought for another couple of months. I wouldn't have thought, but you never know. Zarafa is appearing on the Lara Garcia undercard. Well, when is that, Big J? I did hear that as well, that they were going to put him on that card, but as you saw then, nothing on BoxRec at the moment. Let's just hope he fights someone. Look, I don't think it'll be anyone of note. I don't blame him, by the way. He's got the shot. Get himself a tune-up. Probably won't be anyone ranked within the top 15. I wouldn't have thought of any organisation. Will be probably a journeyman, and I'm fine with that. Just like I was with Tim, having a tune-up. I just can't see Michael beating Lara, unfortunately, at this stage. I think Lara beats Garcia. Garcia and Zarafa would be an interesting fight, although, again, I would pick Garcia to win that. However, the size difference, I think, would be telling. Danny Garcia has obviously fought at 140, then went to 147. I don't think he's fought at 160 at all, and Michael Zarafa is a big, strong middleweight. So I'll maybe give him an opportunity or a chance against Garcia, but who knows. But that's it in a nutshell. Michael Zarafa will have a tune-up on that card and then fight the winner of that fight, looking like it's August 5, says Big J. Let's hope that's the case, mate. Adam says, ha, Zarafa, Tim Shadow. Well, it could change pretty quickly, though, Adam. If Michael Zarafa wins that belt, as I said, I don't think he will, but if he does, all of a sudden he's in the driver's seat, and we will see a mega Aussie fight for all the marbles, a multi-million-dollar fight between those two. So maybe the plan will pay off down the track for Michael Zarafa. I'm with you. I don't think he has a chance in hell of beating Tim Tszyu. But again, as I said before, you've got to be in it to win it. And if he's got that WBA belt, he's got a little bit more pull than we thought he might have. He's got the belt. Tim's going to want that belt. Whether I would think Tim would be loath to fight Michael Zarafa. I don't think he would want to fight him. Not because he doesn't think he can beat him. He doesn't want to give Michael Zarafa the satisfaction, even if he would be the champion, of getting a massive payday versus Tim. You might see that if that was the case, if Tim did go up, he might target one of the other belts. and a Charlo or an Adames would be beautiful or perfect fights for Tim. And he would just say, Zarafa, I don't care. I'm gonna make the money fighting some of these other guys. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. Who knows? Long way to go. A lot of water under the bridge before that happens. But end of the day, we'll see what comes of it. Jules says, really hoping Zarafa picks up that strap because I'm still all in on the Zoo versus Zarafa fight, even if no one else is. I think, Jules, if that fight was signed, though, it would be the biggest fight in Australian history. I never thought we would top the Danny Green, Anthony Mundine fight as far as eyeballs on the event and money through the tills, I suppose you'd call it, or through the turnstiles and on pay-per-view. But this, I think, would break that fight. I really do. Yeah. I'm with you, though, Jules. I hope he gets... Look, I'm a little bit either way on it. Do I really want to see the fight? No, I'm not really fussed whether they don't fight each other ever, to be honest. Because look, if Zarafa wins the WBA belt and goes off and defends it against other fighters, good luck to him. If Tim decides to stay at super welterweight or bypass Zarafa and go to one of these other guys at 160, then look, good luck to him as well. I would like to see it, but I'm not busting down the door to see it, Jules. I think it'd be great for Aussie boxing. Massive, massive fight. But I'm not that stressed if it doesn't happen, to be honest. I was excited for it when it was first signed. Now I just think they might be on different paths. Who knows? That can change very quickly. All it takes is Zarafa to win that belt and Tim to win his belt or belts and then say, right, I'm going to defend it once or twice and then I'm going to go up and I'm going to fight Michael Zarafa. If all things align, as I said, it could be the biggest fight in Australian boxing history. Batman says many guys from 154 beat them both. What's to say? Lara Garcia from middleweight title is crazy. I agree with you, mate. I can't believe it's being sanctioned. And you're right. Many guys from 154 beat them both. I think I've got everyone's comments there. So yeah, so that's it for Michael Zarafa. There's still, as I said, a bit to go under the bridge for both of those guys. But let's hope. Who knows what might happen in another 12 to 18 months' time. All right, let's go down to all the way to, well, we know we've been at super welterweight with Tim. Let's go all the way down to super lightweight. Now, I've got Stevie Spark on the list as someone's potentially, it's another asterisk, probably a little bit like Rowan Murdoch. Is he in the mix for a world title shot at the moment? I don't think so, but you can see, I did see him, he was ranked, where's that, by the IBF at number 10. Real shame he didn't get that win against the Mexican. You see there also number 11 by the WBC. So he's in the mix as well. I would like him to step back a little bit and not fight these really tough guys. Go back, and he's already ranked in the ratings there. So all he needs to do is keep busy with those fringe type of challenges, and then I think they could step him up after that. Because all you got to do is be in the right position at the right time, and all of a sudden you get that chance. It happened to Liam Wilson. So maybe Stevie Spark and Liam Paro as well. Liam Paro also went through the ratings. So it'd be interesting to see what happens here. But as I said, Stevie Sparks just got to hang in there. It's good to see he's still ranked, by the way, in the top 15 of two organisations, even though he did lose that last fight. But as I said, he just needs to hang in there, keep winning against those fringe sort of contenders, and he might find himself in a voluntary position at some stage. So that's for Stevie Spark. Let's get to Liam Wilson. We've been through lightweight there. Liam Wilson there. Benny Harrington, if you are watching, let it fill us in on what might be up there. You can see there he's number 6 with the WBO with Navarrete. Of course, he's going to be fighting, who was it? Jeez. Tell him, Valdez. Jeez, I just got a mental blank there. Sorry, guys. Fighting Oscar Valdez. So, ranked number 1, you can see there. So all I had to do was look. All right, so he's fighting Oscar Valdez. Is Navarrete. For what it's worth, I think Valdez wins that fight comfortably. I think he's got far too much skills for Navarrete. But you can see there, Liam Wilson, number 6. I'm not quite sure whether he's ranked by anyone else. Let's have a quick look. No, but again, Liam's has got to get back on the horse. He's got to get a couple of wins under his belt, and he might find himself right back in the mix. Who knows? If Valdez beats Navarrete, he might see Liam Wilson as a real good fight next, as a voluntary after that. So who knows what will happen there? And then you've also got, obviously, the IBF belt is vacant. Sorry, the not vacant, the number 1 and 2 rankings are vacant, so he might find himself with Joseph Cordina, and you've got Oshaki Foster and Hector Lewis Garcia as well. So, yeah, so look, the jury's a little bit out still on Liam. Looked really tough in that last fight not to get the win, but at the end of the day, by all accounts, he's back in training, ready to go. Obviously, was pulled from the last Tim Zoo show. And if it is in August that he's going to fight, that's great. And it gets him right back in the mix. He could really quite easily find himself a mandatory for the winner of Navarrete and Valdez if all goes well. So let's keep an eye on that one. Let's go down to Super Bantamweight now. And all eyes are on Sam Goodman. I'm not quite sure. Has this been updated since then? I'm not sure. He's not. He should be ranked. There he is, number 4 at the WBO for Stephen Fulton's title. He's of course fighting in a way for that belt fairly soon. You can see there's also ranked number 4 by the IBF. So he's going to have an opportunity very, very soon. All he's got to do is keep winning. He's now, of course, he's now ranked. Is a mandatory for Marlon Tapales. Sorry. Again, mental blank there. But yeah, so his next fight will be, or looks like Marlon Tapales. Whether they take a tune-up fight each next, we'll see. Whether Tapales takes a voluntary and Sam takes a keep busy fight, we'll see. But yeah, big opportunity for Sam Goodman. Make no mistake about it. Marlon Tapales is a very, very tough, experienced fighter from the Philippines. Will be a very, very tough fight for Sam Goodman, but I'll give him every chance in the world to take that belt. So obviously, yeah, it's not going to happen with Fulton because he's got his hands full with Inoue. I would like to see Inoue maybe, or Goodman stay clear of Inoue for the time being. I think that's a very, very dangerous fight for Sam. So good decision by him to pursue the IBF route. And I think he's, as I said, a really good chance of beating Tapales. Jules H says, we heard anything from Showtime since the Suarez loss? Was that basically the end of his title chances at his age? No, I haven't really heard anything, Jules, to be honest. So we'll keep a look out there. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what's next with that because yeah, I haven't heard the latest. We'll keep an eye out for that. What was I saying? So Sam Goodman, Tapales. Yeah, I think I'll just go there. So I'll just see his Tapales. Let's have a look and see what, because he's where is he? All right, so you can see there, 37-3, very, very good record. IBF and WBA champion. So yeah, so it has been quite active as well. So anyway, that's his record there. So we'll look out for that one. All right, so Sammy Goodman. Let's hope he gets his title shot soon. Who's next? All right. Well, that's probably it for the males. Just a quick overview of the females. We've got, actually, we'll get on to some who are on the way who aren't quite there yet. We'll talk about, we'll get the girls out the road. So Shanika Johnson, of course, just lost the IBF Super Bantamweight title. She'll just need to get back in the rankings. Sky Nicholson at featherweight is one that, so I think she's ranked in the WBC ratings at the moment. No, it doesn't come up there. Sorry, guys. I think she's ranked number 6, so she'll be in the mix for a title shot there. I think she'll definitely win a world title. Beck Hawker, that could be the big fight for Sky down the track. I think Beck Hawker's still got a little bit of work to do, in my opinion, to be at that level, but you've got to be in the mix, and she certainly is that. Taylor Robinson is the other one at super flyweight, who I think has got the ability to fight for a world title as well. There's a couple other girls, but I think they're the main ones, apart from Ebony Bridges. Shanika Johnson, Sky Nicholson, Beck Hawker, Taylor Robinson are the cream of the crop as far as the females goes. And of course, Shannon O'Connell, not quite sure what Shannon's up to, maybe retirement. We'll see what happens there. So that's the girls. What I want to do before we go, I've got some others there who aren't on the cusp. This is probably a little bit of interest for you guys to comment as well, because these are the ones that I haven't put in the mix as being on the cusp. These are the ones that are probably a year or two away. We've already talked about Justice Honey, but let's talk about Apollo Akuso. I think he's definitely one to watch in the next 12 to 18 months as well. We'll get to the light heavyweight type rankings for him. So you can see there some big punches there, some big hills to climb, Better Beav and Bivol. I would think, Kuso is probably, I would think from those guys, 2 years away. 2 years away from challenging those guys. But he's one to definitely keep an eye on. I think he's going to be, as I said, in the mix down the track. The other one that's come up a couple of times is Nikita Zoo at super welterweight. Can he challenge for a world title? Well, of course he can. I liken him a little bit to actually Tim because, as I said at the start, I wasn't quite sure whether Tim had what it took to go to the next step to be where he is now, and obviously he's well and truly proven that he is. I see Nikita, who's improved every single fight as well. I must say, his first fight, I wasn't impressed at all, to be honest, to be fair, because I just thought it was just all bombs away, but you got to put that down to that nervous energy. Wanted to make an impression, of course, hadn't fought for 8 years, but since then, take the Ben Horn fight aside, where I just think he tried way too hard and punched himself out. I think if they fought again, he makes light work of Ben Horn, if I'm being honest. He's improved that much. But the same lineal improvement that Tim has shown, I think Nikita has as well. The only difference with Nikita, I think you'll see, is they won't, not that Tim was rushed, but he was progressed quite quickly. I think Nikita would have another 2 years and maybe, 8 fights before they even consider stepping him up to anything like world level. That's just the way I sort of see. You got to remember, he's not like Tim, who was still semi-active, and he came in as well. Came in off some good recent amateur form when he turned pro. Nikita had 8 years off, so I would think 8 to even maybe 10 more fights before you'll see Nikita at that level. Now, they plan to keep him active. They'll probably have him have 4 or 5 fights a year, so it won't take him long to get to those 8 to 10 fights, but that's what I'm sort of thinking. Big J, Susie Q should be back in August. Jasmine Parr fighting soon, July 8, I think, defending her WIBA flyweight title. Look, Big J, I'll probably put the WIBA in the same category as an IBO. Good luck to them for winning it, but I don't see it as a proper world title. However, it gets her ranked in the other ones. That's great. I didn't actually have her on the list, but you are right. Jasmine Parr, definitely have her as a star on the rise, but she's probably got another 5 or 6 fights, I would think, before she's anywhere near fighting some real world-class fighters. Susie Q is an interesting one. She's obviously just fought for the IBF belt against Shanika Johnson. I'm just not quite sure where Susie's at, to be honest, Big J. I've always been a big fan of Susie, but the performance against Johnson was, I thought, pretty mediocre for her level, and I'm just not quite sure what she's got left. I know it was at a higher weight, at super bantamweight. She's never fought that high in her career. She's more of a super flyweight, so maybe she'll go back. But she's also, was she 40 odd years of age? You just don't know how much she's got left. So I've got an asterisk beside her as well. And yes, I probably should have her in the mix, but she needs to fight her way back in some form, Big J, and let us know or show us a little bit more than what she showed us last time. Jules says, what do we got there? Nikita, much more physically gifted than Tim. So much upside, giving his time away. Yeah, and that's why I don't think they'll rush him, Jules. And the thing is that they've got totally different body shapes as well. As I said before, Tim's more lean. He reminds me so much of Golovkin. Not so much. He doesn't come forward as much as what Golovkin did, but same sort of mentality. He hunts you. He breaks you down. Forces you to almost... Like, he counter punches you, but he comes forward. So he comes after you, he makes you punch first, and then he comes and counters you and makes you pay. Whereas Nikita, early on, was just a brute. Now I see him as now starting to get the skills together. I think he's going to be an absolute killer going forward, Jules, and definitely has the potential to fight for a world title. I don't think there's anyone in Australia that, I think comes close. Maybe if he fought... I wouldn't put him in with a Joel Camilleri, even though I think he's ready physically. Joel's a real spoiler. He obviously made Tim look ordinary as well, so I'd keep him away from those types of guys. But I'd definitely like to see him fight a Colin Mazudia, Benny Mahoney, or Marnie, however you want to pronounce it. I really like him against those guys. Victor Nagby, those types of guys. I think the time's coming where he's going to be ready for those guys. But still, in the meantime, let's get another 3 or 4 fights before we look at even at the absolute top of Australian level, and then sort of go from there. But I know talking to Glenn Jennings are in no rush to put him into those big fights early, and I 100% back that. Jalen Tate mentioned on social that he just fought his last fight in Australia. Hasn't cleaned out the domestic scene yet, but one to watch. Definitely one to watch, Jules. But geez, it's definitely a bold step to jump into those types of fights already. Now, when he sees his last fight in Australia, maybe he's going to fight on some cards overseas in Asia or the UK or the States. Who knows? But I think he's a great talent, but I certainly don't think he's ready for that real world level yet, mate. So we'll see. I'm not sure if who he's promoted by. Is it Ace Boxing? Is it or is it Tasman? I'm not sure. Fill us in. Big J, Susie won a WBF 122 world title. Okay, yeah, all right, mate. So she has fought at that weight before. Not quite sure. Enlighten us who she actually fought. I'm not sure. But quality opponents as well, I suppose. Shanika Johnson's probably the best at that. I'm assuming she was a lot better than the WBF champion that she beat for that. Anyway, we'll see. Yes, Tara, that's my wife. Loves Nikita. Want to see the bodies in the basement. He's an odd guy, isn't he, Nikita? I reckon he's awesome. He's got so much personality. I really like following him on social media. He's just a real likable guy. Doesn't take himself too seriously. Doesn't get involved in all the bullshit before fights. He makes light of it, and I think he's a real breath of fresh air to Aussie boxing. And I've been pretty vocal about not just Aussie fighters, but fighters in general that take themselves way too seriously and get involved in all the trash talk and all the shit that goes on at press conferences and weigh-ins. I love Nikita. Really love the way he goes about it. As I said, doesn't take the situation too seriously. And he gets in there and he is an absolute killer. And I just think I've got a lot of time for Nikita, and I really hope that he comes along. And don't you love even when he sees himself in the camera on the in the change rooms, and he plays up to the camera. Normally the fighters are stone-faced and focused and everything else, and very serious. Well, he's the exact opposite. But when he gets in the ring, his whole mood changes. So yeah, let's hope he comes on. And yes, Nikita, if you are watching, my wife is one of your biggest fans. BJ says lots of Tim's opponents would love to line up Nikita. Yeah, they probably would, but I don't think there's any rush, Big J. And to be honest with you, I don't think any of the guys that Tim's fought would beat Nikita or match up with Nikita. The only one, as I said, might be a Joel Camilleri, who's a spoiler. But I wouldn't hesitate to put him in with anyone like a Jack Brubaker or any of these types of guys. Anyway, we'll see. Nikita from Sydney, not Adelaide. And the body, I'm assuming that's referring to the bodies in the basement. But I feel like they're there. Don't you worry about that. Yeah, he's got that look in his eyes, hasn't Nikita? But yeah, no, he's good. All right, Jules, putting in a request for Igor to come on the show next time you bring Glenn on, Lynden. Don't hear much from Igor, but must have a great boxing brain. Yeah, he does, mate. And he doesn't say a lot, I will say. And I know I haven't had interviews on for quite some time, guys. I've sort of been concentrating more on this. And, of course, those guys have been overseas anyway. But we'll get Glenn on. I'm not quite sure whether Igor, that would be his cup of tea, Jules. But all I can do is ask. Maybe they can come on together. And maybe they can answer the question. Because I think I've said on this show many, many times, I like to interview. I know Glenn does the rounds a little bit. But I really like to interview the guys on the peripheral rather than the guys themselves. And what I mean, like, every man and his dog's interviewed Tim. Every man and his dog's interviewed George Kemp. Both. I like to interview the managers, the trainers, the whoever it might be, the manager, trainer, physiotherapist, whoever it might be, just to get a little bit of different insight onto these guys. Because we hear the same interviews over and over. They get asked the same questions, which means they've got to give the same answers. But when you get someone like these guys, and it's a great suggestion there, Jules, maybe I'll reach out to Glenn, see if we can get Igor on. And worst case, if we do get the Vegas for Tim and Charlo, maybe I'll just track him down in the food court or somewhere for a coffee, and we can get him on the spot. So, because I'm not a big fan of doing things over the internet, I will say. I like to actually do things in person. I feel a lot more comfortable doing it. So that might be the time to get an interview with Igor. But good idea there, mate. Carl, he's here. How are you, mate? Thanks for joining in the show. A dog ate my homework. That's all right, mate. All good. We're just going through the Aussie fighters, mate, and where they're at the moment and what they might have coming up. We've done all the world champions, the ones on the cusp. Now we're doing the ones who are about to hit that big time. So I've done Justice Huni, Paulo Akuso, Nikita Tszyu. Harry Garside, where's Harry at? I know he's gone back to the amateurs, but where is he at? Is he going to go back to the pros? I doubt it. I've got strong doubts that Harry comes back. I think he's upset a few people in the know with taking the stance that he has and maybe having a few things to say. If he was back in the pros, I would 100% see him in the upper echelon of the world rankings. I think he's on a par with the Sam Goodman or Liam Wilson and these types of guys. It's whether he wants it. I'm not quite sure whether he's got it inside anymore. I think he wants to go. One of the reasons he's gone back to the amateurs, not just because of the Olympics. I think he's gone back because it sort of suits him better. It's a sport. Pros is a tough business. And not everyone's cut out for it. I know I wasn't really keen to do that. That's why I stayed amateur. Harry Garside, he's a brilliant amateur fighter. Maybe thinks he can reach a little bit more there. And there's endorsements and sponsorships that you can get through the amateurs as well. And maybe it's just not for everyone. So, but here's one that's definitely got a big asterisk beside. Yes, Carl, hit the like or the lurkers in there. Yep. You called that one ages ago, Harry. Yeah, look, you can sort of sometimes see in the body language of fighters, Carl. Not that everyone can see, but sometimes you look at someone, the way they prepare, the way they speak, even sometimes the way they fight, and you can just sort of see whether they've got it or not. And as I said, it's not for everyone. This might be the whole sport type of thing of the amateurs might just suit him 100%. He could have a long, distinguished career in the amateurs. Maybe he wins the Olympic gold medal. But the pros aren't for everyone because they're a completely different sport. They really are. They're unlike anything. The amateurs is more that arm fencing. The pros is a tough business, and that's why it's not for everyone. But you are right there, Harry. Jules. Harry and Jalen Tate would have something. That would be an amazing fight, wouldn't it? That would be a really, really good fight. Don't really hear a lot about Jalen Tate, so I'd be interested to hear a little bit more what you said there, mate, about him going overseas and if he's signed with anyone or whatever. I haven't seen anything of that myself, but yeah, he's got a lot of ability. But again, he reminds me a little bit, to be honest, Jules, where John Manu. Not a lot of you guys have probably heard of John Manu, but he looked the goods, but went overseas and just probably took that fight. It was in the States. He got stopped in 2 or 3 rounds, I think. Looked, $1 million. Even went overseas, fought in Canada, fought on the Cambosis, Haney undercard, looked $1 million and just went overseas, and it was just a whole different ball game. I hope Jalen Tate's not like that. Hopefully we're wrong and he's ready, but I would hope if they take him over there, it's not as just the opponent, that they're actually got a bit of a career trajectory in mind for him. The last one I want to go through before we go, guys, is another fighter we spoke about earlier, was Alex Winwood. I 100% think this guy is a world champion down the track. He's got all the tools. Just a slick fighter. Reminds me a lot of Andrew Maloney, I will say. Really slick boxer, but got power. He's strong. And he likes to mix it. He's got a bit of grunt about him as well. A bit of indigenous magic to him as well. And I think, I think he's definitely a champion in weighting. Let's have a look. I think I've got the right division here, guys. Is he minimum weight? That's what I'm going to go for. He's probably already ranked, isn't he? Where's the WBC? Or is he ranked above? I know he's ranked with the WBC somewhere. Where is he? Alex Winwood. Have I missed him there, guys? I thought he was ranked. I'm looking for him there. Maybe I've got that wrong. Okay, maybe they've updated the rankings. Oh, no, there he is, number 12 of the WBC. Now, after his win last weekend, I would think that he will now be in the top sort of 6 or 7, I would probably think, and might be in the mix. Now, I'm going to be honest, I know absolutely nothing about these guys. All I can see there is that Kenshiro Terashi has got the WBA and WBC belts. Sivi Notshinga has got the IBF belt, and Jonathan Gonzalez has got the WBA belt. So maybe now he's had that win for he was the WBC International. You might see him in the top 6 or 7 in the world, it's great, and he's on the march. Now, will he break the record? I doubt it, but I wouldn't put it past him. If he can get an opportunity, then you just never know what might happen. I might make a bit of a homework this week to actually have a look at Kenshiro Terashi, but the fact he's got 2 belts makes him, I would say pretty good. I would think. But yeah, as I said, I'll do the homework on that next week and give you a bit more update. But he's probably the only one I can see. If you guys have got anyone else you can think of, let me know. But they're probably the ones I think at the moment that are either about to or at the top, about to fight for the top, have just been at the top, or on the cusp of the top, or might be a year or two down the track. Big J, look forward to the top 10 next week. Top 10 championship wins by an Aussie. All right. So just to clarify, Big J, we're going to make it the top 10 performances of Aussies of all time in world championship fights. Now, do they have to have won the world title or just fought for the world title and put in a great performance? Let's just put it the best wins of all time by an Aussie in a world title fight. All right, because we have had a few that have put up great fights. Troy Waters comes to mind with Terry Norris, of course, for the WBC Super Welterweight title back in '93. Didn't win the belt, of course. Tony Mundine against Carlos Monzon, and the list sort of goes on. Let's make it the top 10 winning performances from Aussies in world title fights. All right. I think that's about it for tonight, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you don't know, check out the latest edition of What's Your Verdict. It is Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad. I did vote I had 7 rounds to 5 for Oscar De La Hoya, 115, 113. How did you have it? The poll is going on at the moment. 100% of people agree with me and had it for Oscar De La Hoya in a decision win. So get on there, check it out, vote. It's on Instagram at the moment for probably another sort of 12 hours or so. Hang on, Jules. Top 9, because no way Jai Patel can't be won after having his jaw removed from his head. Not bad, mate. Yeah, I've got to say Jeff Horn for me is still tough to beat. But anyway, we'll do that next week. And asterisk with Jeff Fennick against Azuma Nelson. That was a draw. But anyway, we're going to that next week. So as I said, check out What's Your Verdict. I am going to be bringing in a new type of show. The Thursday night show has been a little bit hard for all concerned at the moment to do it on a regular basis. But what I am going to do on a Friday is a complete wrap-up of all the Aussie world and news, Aussie and world news. Not so much in this format, but just a quick wrap-up for all of you guys out there that don't have a chance to check social media 24/7. A quick wrap-up around the world and Australia of what's happening, results, rumours, all that sort of stuff that I'll put out on a Friday just to keep all you guys up to date. And again, any other requests that you might have for any other things that we've got going on, happy to hear it as well. So as I said, check out What's Your Verdict and keep a lookout for Friday with the around the trap news. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Thanks very much for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next Monday night at 7 o'clock.